personal attention, support, and help you bring your fusion to bear. We are located at Amasama and Dobrogono, Upper Class Junction, and Santa Maria Family and Friend. For more information, contact 0555 20 80 56, 0540 932 188. Website bfmnetworks.com. Email info@bfmnetwork.com. Other affiliates include Center for Trade, Big Family TV, Big Family News, Big Family Radio, Big Family Event, Big Family Multimedia Institute, KabaraInfo.com, Trustees, Okman Motors, Soko Mall, ABK TV Ghana. Enroll now and experience the difference.
You are all that matters.
Good evening. You're welcome to News at 6 from the studios of Big Family Radio. Now the top stories. President Mahama has slapped asset declaration defaulters with 3-month salary forfeiture. Government is set to release names of public universities changed under Akufo-Addo's government. Save the Judiciary presents petition at Jubilee House to the Deputy Chief of Staff. Los Angeles Mayor Baz has said the last time she spoke to Trump about the wildfires was during his first inauguration. And in entertainment news, D Black has revealed that Menamna Metete started as a diss track. Let's go for a quick commercial break, and when we are back, I would give you the details of these stories and more.
Admission, admission, admission. Are you looking for a computer institution with a serene atmosphere in equipping you with the ability to deepen your understanding and in-depth knowledge in computerization? Then the answer is Big Family Multimedia Institute. Our dedicated and experienced teachers are ready to provide personal attention, support, and help you bring your fusion to bear. We are located at Amasama and Dobrogono, Upper Class Junction, and Santa Maria Family and Friend. For more information, contact 0555 20 80 56, 0540 932 188. Website bfmnetworks.com. Email info@bfmnetwork.com. Other affiliates include Center for Trade, Big Family TV, Big Family News, Big Family Radio, Big Family Event, Big Family Multimedia Institute, KabaraInfo.com, Trustees, Okman Motors, Soko Mall, ABK TV Ghana. Enroll now and experience the difference.
You are all that matters.
You're welcome back. My name is Esther Kushag-Bobli. Now the details of the stories. President John Dramani Mahama has taken disciplinary action against political appointees who failed to meet the mandatory assets declaration deadline of March 31st, 2025. According to the president, information from the Auditor General revealed that some appointees in his administration failed to comply with the directive. As a consequence, he has ordered that the officials forfeit 3 months' salary, which is to be donated to the Ghana Medical Trust Fund, on 18th of February 2025. I set a deadline of 31st March for all appointees who are taking office or being nominated at the time to declare assets. An update provided by the Auditor General to my office indicates that some of you failed to meet that deadline. For all those who were appointed or nominated before 31st March 2025 and failed to meet the deadline, you are forfeiting 3 months of salary to be donated to the Ghana Medical Trust Fund, named after me, Mahama Cares, in addition to 1 month's salary that I have asked all appointees to donate to the Mahama Cares Trust Fund. So, it means that those who are omitted to declare their assets by the date, you are paying 4 months' salary to Mahama Cares, he said.
The 18th February 2025, I set a deadline of 31st March 2025 for all appointees who are taking office or being nominated at the time to declare their assets. An update provided by the Auditor General to my office indicates that some of you failed to meet that deadline. For all those who are appointed or nominated before 31st March 2025 and failed to meet the deadline, you are to forfeit 3 months of salary to be donated to the Ghana Medical Trust Fund, named after me, Mahama Cares. In addition to 1 month's salary that I've asked all appointees to donate to the Mahama Cares Trust Fund. So it means that those who omitted to declare your assets by the date, you are paying 4 months' salary to Mahama Cares.
He further added that if by close of day Wednesday, 7th May 2025, any of you still fails to declare your assets, count yourself automatically dismissed. In addition to the 3-month salary forfeiture, the affected appointees are already expected to contribute 1 month's salary to the Mahama Cares Trust Fund, bringing the total deduction to 4 months' pay. Mr. Mahama said the assets declaration is a key tool to build public confidence and to prevent officials from enriching themselves through public office. He said the newly launched Code of Conduct is a binding guide for all political appointees, including ministers, deputy ministers, presidential staffers, chief executives, members of the Council of State, and board members.
However, if by close of day Wednesday, 7th May 2025, any of you still fails to declare your assets, count yourself automatically dismissed. Because when it comes to protecting the integrity of this government, I will not compromise. Citizen engagement and reporting. Accountability does not end at the walls of this room and in just one code of conduct. I invite the citizens of Ghana to play a role in monitoring compliance of this code. A portal will be created for the public to report suspected breaches with guarantees of confidentiality and impartial investigation.
Away from that story, the Mahama government is preparing to introduce a new bill in Parliament to rename the CK Tidam University of Technology and Applied Sciences, CKTUTAS, and several other public universities across the country. The Minister for Education, Haruna Idrisu, made the announcement during the swearing-in ceremony of the Governing Council of CKTUTAS in Accra. CKTUTAS, established in 2021 to provide students with practical and technical skills for the global job markets, has faced various infrastructure challenges affecting its academic development. Additionally, the university's name has drawn mixed reactions from the public, with some stakeholders opposing it from the beginning. He added that this move forms part of a broader initiative to review and potentially rename several public universities established or renamed during the tenure of former President Nana Akufo-Addo. We have had extensive consultations with the academic community, traditional rulers, alumni associations, students, and civil society. As a result, the name CK Tidam University of Technology and Applied Sciences is likely to change, possibly reverting to the original vision. There will be a general bill to consider the renaming of several public universities that were named or established during former President Akufo-Addo's administration, Haruna Idrisu stated. Haruna Idrisu clarified that the government's proposal to rename several public universities is not intended to undermine the legacy of individuals after whom these institutions were named. This is not to say those individuals do not deserve recognition, but the renaming will aim to reflect the foundational ethos and historical identities of the institutions, he said.
Some names of some public universities were changed and renamed during the tenure of President Nana Akufo-Addo. There is a policy shift. There will be changes in the names of the universities that were done. It is not to fail to recognize the contribution of any individual or their standing, or undermine the legacy of any statesman, or diminish their contributions to our national effort. For instance, Dr. Abdullahi Salafo Technical University will revert back to the Tamale Technical University. We will do that. I introduce a bill in Parliament that will seek to rename some of the public universities in Ghana, including the Dr. Abdullahi Salifo Technical University, back to Tamale Technical University. Simon Dombo University will be renamed. C.K. Tadam University of Technology and Applied Sciences will be renamed. And Dr. Ephraim Amu Technical University will be renamed back to Ho University. I'm still engaging with traditional authorities, engaging with members in academia and alumni association, students and civil society to make that determination.
Away from that story, Save the Judiciary protest took off today, Monday, May 5th, 2025, with a coalition of political parties including the major opposition party, the New Patriotic Party (NPP), to demonstrate against the suspension of the Chief Justice. The suspension of Gertrude Tokunu by President John Dramani Mahama has sparked widespread backlash from some political quarters. Early on Monday morning, protesters gathered at designated parking lots across from the Supreme Court in anticipation of the demonstration along the major streets of the capital, Accra. Protesters besieged the Supreme Court on Monday, May 5th, to deliver a petition to the leadership of the judiciary, led by the minority leader, Alexander Afenyo-Markin. The coalition marched to the Jubilee House to present a petition at the forecourt of the Jubilee House in Accra. Receiving the petition on behalf of the President, the Deputy Chief of Staff, Stan Dogbe, told the coalition of political parties who are against the suspension of Chief Justice that the process to handle the matter is constitutional. He said no violation of the law has happened in the process. We are happy that your process started this morning and ended very peacefully. That in itself is a very strong message about the democracy that President Mahama wants to instill. If it were the case, like over the past 8 years, I am sure that the retaliatory politics that we talk about wouldn't have been the case. Your referencing retaliatory politics is an admission that the 8 years of President Akufo-Addo were not the best, he stated.
I'm not happy. We believe that in a democracy, the way to do it is through a peaceful conduct like we have embarked upon and to register our protests. We started with the judiciary where we presented a petition, the same petition to the Judicial Secretary for onward transmission to the Judicial Council. We went to Parliament. The clerk to Parliament received us on behalf of the Speaker. We expect that the petition will be brought to the House floor once the House resumes for deliberation. And finally, to the principal actor himself. We believe that what is happening is not good for us. There must be an end to this issue of you do me, I do you. There must be an end to retaliatory politics. In Ghana today, all of us as political actors have a story to tell. Where do we end the vicious cycle? It is not yielding to the whims of hawks and hardliners in our respective political parties that will make us better political leaders. We believe that the hawks must be pushed back onto the fringes so that the centrists can take the center stage for the good of our country. In today's era of social media, you cannot control what gets onto the street, and this democracy must be protected and safeguarded. So, my respected brother and friend, this is to you. The language is very respectful and decent and expresses our views because we know we are addressing the president. We hope that it shall receive the needed support for the Chief Justice to go back to her office and do her work. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Now to end the local news. The National Service Authority, NSA, will be piloting a military training program for at least 10,000 national service personnel beginning August 3rd, 2025, with plans to make it mandatory for all personnel starting next year. The Acting Director General of the authority, Felix Jamfi, said in an interview with Media Ghana Connect that the training will instill discipline, patriotism, and a readiness to support national development goals. He stated that the training aims to prepare young people not just for emergencies and disaster response, but also to combat societal challenges like illegal mining, poor sanitation, and environmental degradation. We must confront the battle against the cancer of illegal mining, also known as galamsey, and reclaim our lands from environmental degradation. We also have to tackle issues like poor sanitation, malaria, and other public health crises. These are not challenges that education alone can solve. They require physical and mental discipline. With this kind of training, young people will begin to show up early, show up on time, and most importantly, show up prepared. Mr. Jamfi stated. According to him, the training will last a minimum of 6 weeks and will be conducted in collaboration with the Ghana Armed Forces, with personnel deployed to various military barracks across the country.
Those who are so mandated to defend this country, it's been a long time since they got into any fight. Not at least in my lifetime have I heard the Ghana Armed Forces fighting in any battle. But as Ghanaian citizens, there are several battles that we need to fight. And we need to fight the battle and the cancer of galamsey. We have to reclaim our lands from environmental degradation. We have to fight against sanitation, poor sanitation. We have to fight against malaria. We have to fight against all manner of cancers. So for those fights, you do not need only education to do. You need physical, mental, and then physical discipline as well. And that is President Mohammed's approach and then principle now, that if we were to get the military involved, it would do a lot, inculcates discipline, patriotism, and nationalism into the young Ghanaians. If we did that, young people will turn up early for meetings, they will turn up on time, they will turn up prepared, because it's very important that people turn up at places prepared. They will turn up after all, for those who were not turning up at all, and then make sure things are done well, neatly, and without a thing. Very soon, the Mahama graduates or Mahama Ghanaians will begin to emerge, who are very disciplined, loyal to the state of Ghana, and then are willing to die for Ghana, and will be able to, because of their training that they have had, to say that, you know what, you cannot possibly do mining around Riverside, you know, and then in spite of the obvious the obvious indulgence from business people and all that. No, I'm not allowing it. You can't do that. You cannot bribe a Mahama graduate or a Mahama Ghanaian to give you a bed because you paid something. Suddenly a bed shows up. You know, no, that's not the sort of Ghanaian that we are looking forward to.
So that's the plan of the. So how is it going to be like? Our national service personnel, all of them, are they going to be some selected persons?
No, this year is going to be a pilot year, and then this pilot year, at least we're going to do 10,000 service persons around the country. We'll start on the 3rd of August, and then that will be before they begin their national service properly. On the 15th of May, we're going back to meet the military, and then we're going to decide on things like the cloth to wear, the boots, are we going to feed them or they are going to feed them. I'm sure they are going to stay all on campuses. We ourselves are prepared to recall them to come by middle of June if we are going to be selected for the military training this year, this pilot year. We would have written to you and called you and told you that, yes, you are going to the Arakan barracks at, I think, Bema Camp, or you are going to the Coronation Barracks in Sunyani, or Bawa or Kamina in Temale. But it's obvious that around the nation, from the 3rd of August, most service persons will be called to begin their annual military service this year.
So you are going to do the selection? Or
yes, we will select.
People can opt in?
No, we have given that option on the platform to choose to do military service. But then we're expecting that almost everybody is going to ask that they want to do the military service. But because the pilot here, we're going to choose at least 10,000. It could be more, but then the least we will do will be 10,000.
Before we move on to the international news, you can watch the live coverage and also follow us on Facebook at Big Family Radio. You can as well follow us on Instagram at Big Family Radio, YouTube and TikTok at Big Family Radio and Big Family TV. You can download the app on Play Store and App Store on Big Family Radio. Now moving on to international news. Representative Dan Goldman, a Democratic representing New York in the U.S. House of Representatives, was a guest on MSNBC's show hosted by Nicole Wallace. The topic of their conversation centered on the May Day rallies that took place across the country, with protesters expressing their opposition to the policies and actions of the Trump administration. During the discussion, Congressman Goldman emphasized the critical importance of actively resisting the Trump administration's agenda, stating, "This is existential for our country, our democracy. It's important not only that we as members of the Congress continue to speak up, but the American people speak up as much as possible." Goldman's statement suggests a belief that the future of American democracy is at stake and that both elected officials and ordinary citizens have a crucial role to play in shaping the country's direction.
I'm not happy about.
These are the May Day protests. On most days of these first 100 days of Donald Trump's second term, Congressman, there have been some sort of protest somewhere in the country over something he has done. What are you seeing and feeling and hearing out in the country and from your Democratic colleagues and Republican colleagues?
Yeah, first of all, the energy is palpable and these protests are resonating. I can tell you that from conversations and interactions I'm having with my Republican colleagues. They, especially the moderates, those Republicans here in New York and in California and Iowa and other places where their elections are going to be neck and neck, they are going to be forced to choose between cutting the critical benefits that their constituents rely on or following Donald Trump. And the more that we see people pouring into the streets like this, protesting, making their voices heard, the more they understand that they are going to sacrifice their political lives if they support these cuts. And I have had relationships broken off in Congress because I've said that. And there are lines that traditionally were not crossed between members, and all bets are off right now. This is existential for our country, our democracy, and none of those lines matter. And it's important not only that we as members of Congress continue to speak up, but that the American people speak up as much as possible.
Away from that story, following her electoral defeat to President Donald Trump, former Vice President Kamala Harris delivered her first significant public address, using the occasion to reassure her supporters and offer a message of hope and resilience. In a key moment of the speech, Kamala Harris asserted that courage is contagious, underscoring her belief in the power of collective action and shared determination. She directly addressed the perceived strategies of the Trump administration, arguing that they were counting on the notion that fear can be contagious, attempting to capitalize on anxiety and division within the country. However, Harris countered this premise by emphasizing that the Trump administration was fundamentally underestimating the power of courage. She powerfully reiterated her central message, stating definitely that fear is not the only thing that's contagious. Courage is contagious, suggesting that the acts of bravery and defiance can inspire widespread resistance and positive change.
And what we are also seeing in these last 14 weeks is Americans using their voice and showing their courage. We all know President Trump and his administration and their allies are counting on the notion that fear can be contagious. They are counting on the notion that if they make some people afraid, it will have a chilling effect on others. But what they're overlooking, what they have overlooked, is that fear is not the only thing that's contagious. Courage is contagious. The courage of Americans we are seeing who are rallying as Social Security officers.
You are listening to Big Family Radio, Big Family Radio.
Of Americans who are speaking out to say, it is not okay to violate court orders. Not okay. Saying it is not okay to detain and disappear American citizens or anyone without due process. The courage of judges to uphold the rule of law in the face of those who would jail them. Of universities that are defying unconstitutional demands that threaten the pursuit of truth and academic independence. And I will tell you, the courage of all these Americans inspires me.
Still on the issues of Kamala Harris. In her first public appearance since departing from office in January, former Vice President Kamala Harris delivered a forceful critique of President Donald Trump's performance during the initial 100 days of his second term. The former Vice President did not mince words, strongly condemning the president's actions and policies. Specifically, she accused Trump of steering the United States towards a potential constitutional crisis, suggesting that his administration's actions posed a fundamental threat to the nation's governance and legal framework. Furthermore, Harris asserted that Trump's economic policies had resulted in devastating consequences for the American economy, causing widespread hardship and instability. Finally, she accused the president of isolating the United States on the international stage through the abandonment of long-standing alliances and partnerships with key global allies. This address marks a significant return to the public sphere for Harris and signals her ongoing opposition to the Trump administration.
What we are in fact witnessing is a high-velocity event where a vessel is being used for the swift implementation of an agenda that has been decades in the making. An agenda to slash public education. An agenda to shrink government and then privatize its services. All while giving tax breaks to the wealthiest among us. By the way, an agenda that is not lowering costs, not making life more affordable, and not what they promised. It's an agenda, a narrow, self-serving vision of America, where they punish truth tellers, favor loyalists, cash in on their power, and leave everyone to fend for themselves, all while abandoning allies and retreating from the world. We are living in a moment when the checks and balances upon which we have historically relied have begun to buckle. And we here know that when the checks and balances ultimately collapse, if Congress fails to do its part, or if the courts fail to do their part, or if both do their part, but the president defies them anyway, well, friends, that is called a constitutional crisis. And that is a crisis that will eventually impact everyone.
Away from that story, according to Theresa Fallon, the director of the Center for Russia-Europe-Asia Studies, a potential withdrawal of the United States from its traditional role in European security would have significant and detrimental consequences. Fallon argues that if the US pulls back, Europe hasn't invested enough in its defense base, and it will take at least 10 years to get things going. She elaborates on this point by explaining that the long-standing failure to European nations to adequately invest in their own defense infrastructure and capabilities has left the continent exposed to various security threats. Moreover, Fallon contends that this vulnerability presents a strategic opportunity for China to expand its influence and assert its interest in the region, potentially reshaping the geopolitical landscape of Europe.
Every member of NATO had agreed 10 years ago to spend 2% of their GDP on defense, and that has only happened rather recently in regard to the invasion of Ukraine. So we see 6 countries still haven't even reached that point, even though there's a war on the continent. So I think that Europeans have been very, very slow to invest in their own defense. So they have been accused, and this is where Trump does get it right, of cheap riding or free riding on the US. And there's a good decade that Europe will be exposed. If the US pulls back, they haven't invested in their defense base enough that it will take at least 10 years to get things going. So China is on a charm offensive. They see a big opportunity here. There is a great dissatisfaction with the Trump administration. Many in Europe see the US now as an adversary. So it's ripe for the picking. It's China's dream to throw a wedge in the transatlantic relationship, and they see this opportunity. But Europe should think very carefully about this. Is it really smart to become more dependent on China? Are they just replacing another dependency?
In other stories, during a segment on MSNBC's Morning Joe, Pablo Torre brought attention to the disturbing case of Jess Reese Barrios, a Venezuelan national who had sought asylum in the United States after fleeing torture in his home country. Despite his legitimate claim for asylum rooted in documented persecution, Barrios was ultimately deported and subsequently imprisoned in El Salvador, a country to which he had no ties. The crux of this miscarriage of justice lies in the misinterpretation of a tattoo on Barrios' body depicting the logo of Real Madrid, his favorite soccer team. This innocuous symbol was erroneously construed by authorities as evidence of gang affiliation, leading to his wrongful deportation and subsequent imprisonment. Torre succinctly captured the heartbreaking absurdity of the situation, summarizing the tragedy by stating, "He got disappeared because he was trying to pay homage to his favorite soccer team."
Venezuelan soccer player who was deported from the U.S. to a prison in El Salvador claims he was wrongly labeled as a gang member after there was a misinterpretation of his tattoo. Pablo, you dig into this story on the newest episode of your podcast. What did you find out?
Yeah, that this is an athlete, a person that Donald Trump and his administration don't want you to know about. He is somebody with no criminal record who fled Venezuela and Nicolas Maduro, a dictatorship, because he was suffocated and electrocuted for protesting a dictatorship, again, in the streets. So he flees to the United States, goes through the legal process, registers on the CBP app, requests asylum, and this is Jersey Reyes Barrios here, and he is held in a detention center until he is disappeared to CICOT. Not just any prison in El Salvador, but the thing we've been talking about the whole time. And we talked to his family just to figure out, what do you know about where he is, if he's even okay. And his sister told us this.
Fast forward to March 14th, 2025. Jersey's sister told us that she got a call from her brother to wish her a happy birthday. Well, the first thing she talks about is that she notices something different in Jersey's voice. That she notices that he's shaky and nervous and that he's not being himself. And then Jersey asks about one of his daughters.
Right, his two kids.
He's able to talk to one of them. He says, "What are you eating?" And the daughter responds, "I'm eating cheese, Daddy." "I love you," Jersey says back to his daughter. "I love you too." And then he says, "I don't have much time to talk." And that's the very last time that Jersey is able to talk to his family.
Still on the international news, Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass was asked about her interactions with former President Donald Trump concerning wildfire recovery efforts in the region. In response, Mayor Bass stated that she had only spoken with President Trump on one occasion regarding this critical issue. This conversation, she clarified, took place just once, shortly after his inauguration. The meeting occurred during President Trump's visit to Los Angeles, suggesting a limited and infrequent engagement between the city's leadership and the then president regarding the significant challenges posed by the wildfires.
Have you talked to President Trump, or when was the last time you talked to President Trump about the needs of your city?
Well, I will tell you that I'm in contact with representatives of the administration, but I talked to President Trump when he came out to L.A., and it was a few days after his inauguration.
And
just
the
once.
contact, okay, and the contact you have with the administration, would you just characterize the contact as constant, ongoing? Do you have any trouble getting through to anybody, is what I'm asking.
No, I haven't. And, you know, it definitely has benefited me, served 12 years in Congress, that I've seen a number of my former colleagues receive appointments in the administration. And so it's not been constant. There's not been a need for it to be constant, but I've not had difficulty getting through. And so I'm just very optimistic. I mean, the effort is going along very well now.
In other stories, President Donald Trump has issued an order directing government officials to initiate the process of reopening and expanding the Alcatraz federal prison. In justifying this decision, the president characterized the prison as it's a symbol of law and order, highlighting his administration's focus on crime prevention and punishment. Alcatraz, a notorious federal jail situated on a rocky island in California's San Francisco Bay, previously served as a high-security facility, housing some of the most infamous and dangerous criminals in United States history, before it was ultimately closed down in 1963. The decision to reopen and expand the prison represents a significant shift in policy and signals a return to a more punitive approach to criminal justice.
Where did you get the idea for reopening Alcatraz?
Just an idea I've had, and I guess because the judges, so many of these radicalized judges, they want to have trials for every single, think of it, every single person that's in our country illegally, that came in illegally, that would mean millions of trials, and it's just so ridiculous what's happening. And it's long been a symbol, Alcatraz, of whatever it is. I mean, you know, it's a sad symbol, but it's a symbol of law and order.
Now to end the international news. Muhannad Silom, an assistant professor at the Doha Institute of Graduate Studies, provides an analysis of the complex relationship between the ongoing instability in Syria and Israel's military actions in the region. His explanation centers on the argument that Israel strategically exploits the chaos within Syria, a state of widespread conflict, political fragmentation, and humanitarian crisis, to legitimize its own military interventions and operations. Silom suggests that Israel leverages the perceived threat emanating from the Syrian conflict, be it from specific militant groups, the potential spillover of violence, or the presence of hostile actors, to frame its military actions as necessary for self-defense or the protection of its national interest. In essence, Silom's analysis implies that the Israel uses the Syrian crisis as a justification narrative, presenting its military activities as a response to an existing and volatile situation, thereby gaining international understanding or minimizing potential criticism for its involvement in Syrian territory. This perspective highlights the intricate ways in which regional conflicts can be intertwined and how states might utilize the instability of their neighbors to advance their own strategic objectives.
Well, the Druze community in Israel, they're mostly located in the Golan Heights, and their numbers are around 145,000 people. And in Syria, they form 3.2% of the population. That is around 700,000 Druze community in Syria. So they are a sizable community in Syria, and equally, they are a sizable community in Israel. Interestingly, that their location in the Golan Heights presents, if you like, a strategic interest for Israel. But Israel goes, its interference in Syria, which has been consistent since the fall of Assad, goes way beyond the Druze community. The Druze community is basically a justification for Israel to interfere in Syria, because what Israelis are trying to do is not only, target military locations in Syria, but also they're trying to pressure the new transitional government in Syria to affect how things are going to look, what kind of Syrian government is going to be formed. And so using military force and, the incursions, and also, playing the local card, capitalizing on the chaos and, the aftermath of the collapse of Assad. This works for Israeli interests very well, and we see that very clear.
Moving on to the world of entertainment, Ghanaian musician D Black has made a noteworthy claim regarding the origins of Castro's popular song, Menam na Metete. According to D Black, the song wasn't always the beloved track it is today. He asserts that its initial conception was as a diss track, specifically targeted at Charterhouse. Charterhouse, of course, is well known as the organizer of the prestigious annual Ghana Music Awards. D Black suggests that the song's original purpose was to serve as a critique or challenge to the organization. This intent potentially stemmed from perceived grievances or feelings of unfair treatment towards Castro and others. He states the genesis of Menam na Metete was essentially a form of musical protest against Charterhouse. However, D Black acknowledges that the song underwent significant evolution during its development. It eventually transcended its initial critical aim and resonated with a much broader audience. The song transformed into a widely loved hit, embraced across Ghana and beyond. D Black's revelation offers a fresh perspective on the song's background. It adds a new layer of understanding to the motivations that may have fueled its creation. This insight prompts a re-evaluation of the song's lyrics and overall artistic message within the context of its alleged origins. To end the entertainment news, in her recently published memoir titled Matriarch, Tina Knowles Lawson offers a candid glimpse into her daughter Beyonce's personal life during a pivotal period. Knowles Lawson recounts a specific instance where Beyonce found herself at a crossroads, facing a significant decision regarding her romantic relationships. At the time, Beyonce was being actively courted by Jay-Z, the renowned rapper and entrepreneur. Simultaneously, she was also engaged in conversations and developing a connection with another individual who was also prominent within the entertainment industry. This situation presented Beyonce with a dilemma. forcing her to weigh her options and consider which relationship held the most promise and alignment with her future aspirations. The memo doesn't reveal the identity of the other man, but the anecdote illustrates a period of uncertainty and complex decision-making for the young superstar as she navigated her personal life alongside her burgeoning career. Knowles Lawson's account provides a personal and intimate perspective on a chapter in Beyoncé's life that was largely unknown to the public, offering insight into the challenges and choices she faced, even as she ascended to global fame. Now to end the news, the headlines again. President Mahama has slapped asset declaration defaulters with 3-month salary forfeiture. Government to reverse names of public universities changed under Akufo-Addo's administration. Save the Judiciary presents petition at Jubilee House to the Deputy Chief of Staff. And in the entertainment news, Lord D. Black has revealed that Minam Nametese started as a diss track. And also in international news, Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass has said the last time she spoke to Trump about the wildfires was during his inauguration. To acknowledge my sponsors, Trustees Network Group, Big Family Multimedia Institute, BFM Store, Center for Trade. You can as well follow us live on Facebook at Big Family Radio. You can also follow us on Instagram at Big Family Radio, YouTube and TikTok at Big Family Radio and Big Family TV. You can also download our radio app on Google Play Store on Android and App Store on iOS. A massive thank you to my producers. Have a good evening. My name is Esther Kusiak-Bubli, and this is News at 6 from the studios of Big Family Radio. Thank you.